Welcome to Good Game Spawn Point. I'm Jem. Coming up on the show this week, Rad goes on a virtual safari to see what games can teach us about our animal friends. Plus, I grow a little village of adorable vegetable creatures and defend them from monsters in Drake Hollow. I'm so glad vegetables aren't that adorable in real life, because as a vegetarian, that would make it really hard for me to eat them. I'd have to live off moss. Wait, is moss a vegetable too?
Actually, moss is a small, non-vascular, flowerless plant.
Oh, cool. Thank you, cabbage. Let's start the show. Disguised as a base building tower defense game. Or at least that's how it feels sometimes. Let me explain. Our story begins with a breakup text, and a really bad one at that. But it's all the motivation our hero needs to throw common sense out the window and follow a talking crow through a magic door into the Hollow. Which I can 100% respect, because let's be honest, I'd do the exact same thing. On the other side is a land of magic and home to not only talking animals, but to the painfully adorable plant creatures called drakes. But the fairy tale soon turns dark when it becomes clear this place isn't exactly a wonderland. A powerful cult of big bads called the Termina have infected the Hollow with poisoned, twisted roots and the feral, ferocious creatures that are equal parts bark and bite. So it's up to you now, as the dope who followed a talking bird through a portal, to raise the drakes to their full potential and overthrow the Termina. No pressure. You start out with a barren-looking base of operations and a few simple construction goals to get you into the swing of things. This is where the drakes play an important role, besides giving you a small boost to certain abilities called buffs and just being plain old cute, which is a job in and of itself. They are your builders. You provide them with the resources you collect, and they literally pull your creation out of the ground. There's a nice symbiotic relationship between you and the drakes. You need them to build things and level up your base, and they need you to keep them alive. Because as it turns out, the drakes are really just cabbage children. Using crystals you find in your fight against the feral, you can age up the drakes, granting them stronger buffs for you to use and more charms to build things with. But as they grow bigger, they need a steadily growing and constant supply of food, water, and entertainment. If you can't provide that for them, they'll just straight up die. And there is nothing more terrifying than being halfway across the map and getting this notification. So it's vital you stay on top of your drake's needs, lest you end up with a tiny gravesite. And to do that, you have to explore and venture out to the multiple islands that make up each map, all of which are surrounded by the untouchable ether, or as I've been calling it, spicy water. To cross it, you have to amass either a collection of ether crystals or waypoints that you can link up over long distances, both of which use up resources. This is where your resource management comes into play, to make sure you're not burning through things you can't easily replace. I was always looking for trucks carrying useful supplies that you can link back to your camp using those waypoints. In between all that, you also have the added challenge of clearing out the infestation on each of the islands and fighting off the feral, which means keeping your health and weapons in tip-top condition. If only because it feels so satisfying to knock back an overconfident feral with a solid hit. Which reminds me, if all that's not enough to be thinking about, you've also got the raids on your camp to deal with. These attacks come in waves, and if you're not prepared, can seriously set you back in the construction department. Once you've gone through a few and built up your defenses though, they're more of an inconvenience than a real threat, something to keep you from exploring the map too quickly. I was surprised by how motivated I actually was to explore and leave the safety of my camp. I'm usually a big fraidy cat with an open world phobia, but the excitement to level up or unlock a new build or to expand my ever-growing zipline of waypoints really made me want to go beyond. However, I did reach a point probably about level 8 or so where I felt like I was just kind of going through the motions. My drakes were taken care of, so I didn't really feel the need to build anything else. And armed with the most powerful ski pole known to man, I was smacking down feral left and right. It became exploring and building for the sake of exploring and building. Normally, this would be where I'd fall back on the story to carry me through, but there isn't really an obvious one outside of the main objective. There are notes scattered around that give you glimpses into the history of the Hollow, but I didn't feel any particular drive to keep an eye out for them, in between parenting my 8 sentient cabbages and, saving the world. It is also worth mentioning that Drake Hollow can be played in online co-op, which would definitely cut down on the trekking back and forth with a couple of extra sets of hands to take care of the kids. Overall though, what Drake Hollow lacks in complexity and balance, it makes up for in style and sheer cuteness. While I did hit something of a wall with my progress, it's definitely a game I can see myself coming back to from time to time to keep working on. So it's 3.5 out of 5 rubber chickens from me. Now I want my own little cabbage child. Oh, where's the nearest grocer?
It's time now for The Scoop! With me, Darren! Now, let's see what kinds of fascinating headlines emerge from the world of gaming, shall we? Starting with news that production of the Nintendo 3DS family of devices has officially been discontinued. Initially launched in 2011, the 3DS brought loads of portable gaming experiences to gamers everywhere, including Animal Crossing New Leaf and a bunch of Pokemon titles. There's no current plan to stop online services or eShop for 3DS systems, however, so you can still continue to explore and download games from the library. But if you hadn't already managed to get your hands on this Nintendo handheld, you might soon be out of luck. On to some more news now, and the entire universe has been updated. In No Man's Sky, that is. The game's latest major free update, known as Origins, launched recently, bringing a whole heap of new stuff, including millions of new planetary environments, increased weather variety, and events like firestorms and tornadoes, more flora, new species of fauna, new building types, an overhauled interface, and all sorts of other general improvements and enhancements. Oh, and my favorite addition, sandworms! The spice must flow! Next in our gaming news roundup, the sequel to live stream hit game Among Us has been cancelled. Often described as a social deception party game, the launch screen of Among Us has said that a sequel was on the way. But developers have since announced that the content planned for a sequel would be rolled into the original game instead, including server improvements, an updated friend system, new levels, and colorblind options. Let's just hope they're telling the truth about that. If Among Us has taught me anything, it's trust no one.
After the last round, can we trust
No, we can't. It was Gem and Go. I told you it was Go.
And last up for this week, a surprise Kirby game recently launched on the Switch. After the mysterious appearance and disappearance of the game listing for Kirby Fighters 2, Nintendo ended up making it official. We now know it's a fighting game with platforming elements and a single-player story mode. Definitely looks like one for those Kirby fans who like Super Smash Bros., but wish the entire roster was Kirby's. And now for the extra scoop! This week, a giant robot! Japanese engineers have shown off the movement of a giant Gundam mech. Based on the anime series Mobile Suit Gundam, the towering 18-meter-tall, 25-tons-heavy mech is designed to be an upcoming attraction at the Gundam factory in Yokohama. One small step for a giant robot, one giant leap towards complete robot dominance. Just kidding. And that concludes the weekly gaming news roundup that was The Scoop. Until we scoop again, goodbye.
Oh, hey, Bernie. I've got a joke for you. Why did the lion lose at cards? Because he was playing against a cheetah! Oh, the hyenas liked my joke. Oh, hey there! You know, humans don't walk this great big blue marble alone. We're surrounded by over 8 million different species of animals, from behemoths like the blue whale to the insiest-winciest little spider. These wonders of nature are marvels to behold, and they keep us company, provide us food, and make hilarious internet videos. He's playing a keyboard. While it's not every day that we can dive into the deep blue or go on safari, we can do the next best thing and learn about IRL animals through our digital friends in video games. Don't believe me? Follow me while I do my rounds. Getting up close to animals like this cranky croc in their natural environment can not only be tricky, but downright dangerous. Crikey. But it's also one of the best ways to understand them better. So that's where games like Beyond Blue can come in handy. Putting you up close and personal with a pod of sperm whales in their natural habitat, Beyond Blue lets you observe the ocean floor and its inhabitants without getting your toe wet. Better still, the informative voiceover gives you a lesson in marine life while you submerge yourself in it.
Well, you don't see that every day. At least I don't.
Now that's a swim I don't think I'll ever get to do in real life. Anthony, you'll like this one. Why don't anteaters get sick? Because of all their antibodies! Nothing? You'll get it later, just let it marinate. Now, hanging out with animals is cool and all, but what about actually being an animal? The game Paperbark puts you in the furry paws of a wombat to let you see what day-to-day life is like for our animal friends. From the challenges of traveling through the scrub and finding food, to the dangers of bushfires, the plight of one little wombat is truly eye-opening. Experiences like these can remind us that every creature has its own story, its own wants and needs, and each of them has an important role to play in our world. Hey Farah, what's a zebra's favorite band? The White Stripes! Well, I thought it was funny. No need to be so black and white about everything. Learning about our relationship with animals and how our actions can affect them is super important. How we treat them can have a huge impact. Stardew Valley has you raising all sorts of livestock to provide you with eggs, milk, wool, and more. But getting the best out of your animals means giving them the best. A hug hello every day. Bonding with them means they'll make bigger eggs and milk for higher quality produce. The more love you give, the more love you get. Did you read the news the other day? You did? So would you say that you're a werewolf? Oh, they love that one. While games can get us up close and personal with wild animals, one of their most valuable uses can be teaching us about caring for pets. Like my beautiful sausage prince boat meal. Oh, I love him so much. Pets are dedicated, loving companions, but they're also a lot of work and a very big commitment. So sometimes it can be best to get a little taste of what it's like caring for one through a virtual pet. Tamagotchis were one of the biggest fads of the 1990s, giving you a tiny alien creature to raise in your pocket. A few years after that, one of the most notable pet simulators, Nintendogs, landed on the scene. Both involved the basics of pet care like cleaning, feeding, and playing. While a digital pet is certainly easier to take care of than a real one, these games give us an insight into the dedication it takes to raise a healthy, happy animal pal. I better go clean that up. Have you heard the joke about the giraffe's neck? It's a long one. I said it's a long one! Giraffe jokes always go over people's heads anyway. Now, if you thought it was tricky taking care of one animal, try taking care of a whole zoo of them. Games like Planet Zoo and Zoo Tycoon task you with building a successful animal business. Zoo simulators make us think about the individual needs of different animals and how mental stimulation and socialization is just as important as food and physical health. Which makes sense. We all need friends and playtime as much as we do a tasty snack and a glass of water. So it's great that games not only reflect that, but build on the relationship that we have with animals by giving us ways to learn more about them, how they help us in everyday life, and how we should look after them. Plus, who doesn't love playing games with their best friend?
Radio, are you ready for another round of Ask SP? I can't hear you. Of course, I have no way of being able to hear you, so I'm just going to assume you're as ready as I am and get things rolling with this video from Addison.
What Star Wars and Harry Potter games would you recommend for the tablet? And will there ever be a Monster High game on the PS4?
Bye!
Thanks, Addison. If you're after Star Wars games for mobile devices, well, there are mobile versions of the LEGO Star Wars games, The Complete Saga and Force Awakens, that are worth a go. They are split into episodes, and you can access the first episode of each for free before choosing if you want to pay to unlock the rest. LEGO Star Wars Battles is also a bit of fun if you like real-time strategy. As for Harry Potter games on the iPad, Harry Potter Hogwarts Mysteries and the AR game Wizards Unite are probably the biggest and best known ones out there. Neither are amazing games in my opinion, but having said that, I haven't returned to them in a while. So there's a chance they've improved with updates over time. They are both free to start, so as long as you watch out for in-game transactions, you can always give them a try for yourself and see what you think. As for whether there'll be a Monster High game on the PS4, probably not. The last Monster High game for a PlayStation console that I know of was New Ghoul in School, and that was released way back in 2015 for the PS3. Never say never, but to be honest, I haven't heard much about Monster High in general lately, so it's probably not super likely. Okay, moving on now to our next question, and it's a video from Luca.
Hello, Good Games Point. My name is Luca, and I want to ask you 2 questions. 1, have you ever reviewed the Piku Niku game on Switch? 2, have you ever actually played it just by yourself? And if you're not, I think you should give it a go on Switch. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Luca. We didn't actually get around to giving Piku Niku a full review, but I did try it out in a Let's Play on the show earlier this year. You can check that out in our online archives. And I think that answers your second question too. Woohoo! You know you've become an Ask SP Pro when you can answer 2 questions with 1 answer. Yes, sirree. But to confirm, yes, I have played a bit of Piku Niku. And I really liked its quirkiness, the adorable character design, and the sweet and colourful art style. I certainly had fun with it. And on to another question from the inbox, and next up is a video from... oh, it's from Darren 2.0.
Hi GGSP, it's Darren 2.0. I have 2 questions for you. 1, would you recommend any good free games on the Xbox? 2, how many rubber chickens would you rate I Am Bread? And if you don't answer these questions, I will send an army of Danobots or Darren Nanobots to invade your world. Mwahaha! Also, Darren, do these. Thank you, bye!
Alright, I don't like the sound of those Danobots. 1 regular sized Darren is sufficient enough. Speaking of which, we should get that Darren on the line for these emoticons.
Hello, hello! Original Darren speaking.
Hey Darren, or original Darren you say. Jem here at the Ask SP desk, and so-called Darren 2.0 has some emoticons for you.
Ooh, ka-ching!
Thanks Darren, and thanks Darren. Original Darren, while you're still here, do you have any recommendations for free Xbox games?
Oh, anything for a fellow Darren. If you're fond of fighting games, you might like to try Brawlhalla. Or perhaps Trove if you enjoy some blocky RPG adventuring and dungeon exploring. If you fancy yourself a bit of a pinball wizard, there's Pinball FX3 and Pinball Arcade. And of course, there's the highly popular Roblox platform, which has an array of free-to-play games to explore. Oh, and Rocket League, which recently became free-to-play. Or Spellbreak, the spell-slinging battle royale. Though games that involve online multiplayer tend to require the Xbox Live Gold online subscription, so keep that in mind. And be wary of in-game transactions and online multiplayer features. It's always a good idea to keep your grown-ups in the loop about such things.
Absolutely. Or should I say absolutely? No, I should not. Anyway, thanks for that, Darren. I'll talk to you later.
Oh, bye! Oh, and bye, Darren 2.0. See you at DarrenCon 2021.
Wait, what? Hello? Oh, bye. Okay, now onto the matter of I Am Bread. This game was reviewed ages ago on the show, back when Hex and Barjo were around. But if you want my opinion, I enjoy games like this. It reminds me a little of Human Fall Flat, Octodad, or Cooking Simulator. It's a fun, silly concept with wacky physics and a great sense of humour. I haven't played enough to give it a proper review or a fair rubber chicken rating, but as far as bread-based games go, it's definitely in the upper crust. Alright, but to wrap things up, if you have a question for us, go here and send it in. And if it's a video we pick for the show, you'll score some sweet GGSP loot. But now Darren 2.0's question does have me thinking, would I prefer the Noob Cup or the Darren Nanobot Army? And would I prefer to fight one Darren-sized nanobot or 100 nanobot-sized Darrens? So much to consider, and all of it awful.
Well, here we are at the end of another episode, but we'll be back next week, and oh boy, do we have a humdinger of a show lined up. It's been 22 years since Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped came out, but we finally got our hands on his latest adventure, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. And if that wasn't enough, we've also got the brand new Battle Royale take on classic Mario in Super Mario Bros. 35.
And keep going until you're the last Mario standing or running.
It's gonna be a huge episode, but in the meantime, check out the ABC Me app for an extra snack-sized serve of GGSP. This week, Will is determined to turn his parents into gamers in a segment we're calling Parental Guidance. But that's it for today, so until next time, be nice, have fun, and keep gaming. Rat out.
Will out. Gem out.